got our podcast, thinking you should watch it. If you driving, man, it's good for you to listen. No, we keep it real. No, we spit it raw. Sports dialogue. No, it's good if I'm involved. No, we're not the news. We just cool dudes with nobody to impress. Just talking our shit. Call it Pressman coverage. Pressman coverage.
Pressman coverage.
Pressman.
We should have an intro song just like that.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good, Lee.
Man, welcome into Pressman coverage, a Tennessee Titans podcast dedicated to figuring out how we can get to the Super Bowl right when the new stadium opens up.
Come on now.
Mm-hmm. That's what this is dedicated to.
We've gotten step one down.
What's step one?
Team Ray DK. I'm just never gonna stop.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm just never gonna stop.
You didn't stop before it happened. Now that it has happened, all hell's gonna break loose. How you feeling, Mr. Cody?
I'm feeling real good, man. I think we had a pretty successful draft. Yeah, I'm ready to talk about this defense and how, not pretty. What about you, Randy?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. We here, man. We back, man. Draft was well. I'm really pleased with the team, man. I'm excited to see how we, how this defense shakes out, man. We took a lot of swings on defense, man. So, I'm optimistic. We started off well, but we'll see.
Yeah, and, it's an interesting spot to be in defensively because you look at the numbers, finished with the number one overall pass defense. Rush defense was down a little bit. And it really, as a fan, though, watching the games, it didn't feel that way.
Yeah. You know what we didn't do?
What didn't we do?
We didn't thank the people.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're super excited about this episode. I think that, this is one that probably is going to spark a little bit of debate because I think that the defense is something worth debating where we stand. I think that there's a lot of more stories than we realize in terms of people who will be competing for spots, especially post-draft. What rotations are going to look like is kind of a question mark. So this is going to be interesting. But, again, thank you guys so much for taking time to dive into this with us. We never take it for granted that you guys are here listening with us at Pressman Coverage. Continuing to grow, like, comment, subscribe, share as much as you can. Follow all of our social medias. All of them are Pressman Coverage Podcast except for Twitter, which is Pressman Live. So please jump in, follow, join in on the action, comment. We're looking to hear from you as much as we can. But thank you guys so much for joining in with us this week.
Yeah, and let them know, man, out on the audio, man, on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, man. Y'all make sure y'all tap in, man, and subscribe, man. Continue to share it, man. We got some real good information on here. We might have some special stuff going on soon. Hey,
I ain't gonna say it. But no, man, we're really excited. We're trying to get plugged in as much as we can with the community and people you guys want to hear from. That's what I'll say. That's my teaser. So we're excited about that. But, looking at where we stand right now on the defense, I think that we're in an interesting spot where we've got veterans, we've got guys who have been in the league for a while. I don't know if I can point to the leader on the defense. And we're going to go through the position groups and kind of talk about it. And we'll start with the position group that should have the leader of the defense, which is the defensive line. We've got right now Jeffrey Simmons, Savondre Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, Keandre Coburn make up our interior defensive line. How do you feel about this defensive line, Cody, where it stands right now, and are we missing anything?
Yeah, I think, Jeffrey Simmons and Javonte Sweat are definitely the two best pieces. I just wish a player like Javonte Sweat would sack the quarterback more, considering we got him for a second-round pick last year. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons, too, to be honest with you, and I love Jeffrey Simmons, proud jersey holder and everything. But, we kind of got gashed in the running game, it felt like sometimes. And that's their realm. Like, that's where they gotta be elite for us. Yeah. And it seems like they weren't last year. What about you, Randy?
Man, I'm in that same boat. We started off hot last year, but then you can kind of tell, like, the wear and tear started to wear on the guys. Mm-hmm. And, we just started getting gashed, bro. And when we were just when we used to get just smoked by the past and nobody could run on us, that significantly changed last year. Mm-hmm. And we looked like a shell of ourselves. Like you said, I agree. I like the upside of Sweat. He still has some developing to do. But yeah, man, we got cinnamon. I mean, I'm gonna just sugarcoat it, bro. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it no more. We got cooked last year. We got Cinnamon Toast Crunch, well done, barbecue chicken, whatever you want to call it, bro. But we have to play better this year. Have to.
We do, man. And stopping the run is something that, Jeff Simmons came out and said nobody runs on us. I think it was a week, maybe 2 weeks later.
I think it was the next game.
Yeah, I think it was Indy. When I think it put 250 yards or something like that.
250, 300.
Like something that's like absolutely mind blowing. And I'm of the same mindset of you as I think T'Vondre Sweat's rookie year was not a bad rookie year at all. I'm not going to sit out here and say it was a bad rookie year. As an interior defensive lineman, I want him, getting pressures on the quarterback is great. You need to bring down the quarterback. Also understanding that you're a nose tackle, that's not your primary job. It wouldn't look as bad if we had pure pass rushers around him. But, you're right. We spent a second-round pick on you. And I think you did show some potential. You had some really cool moments, the stiff arm and everything. But we've got to have a dominant interior defensive line to help us stop the run, set the edge a little bit better. I think that's going to be something that's big for us, overall. And then, one thing I did want to mention is when it comes to the edge, we did pick up a few players out there that could potentially help us out with that. And we'll talk about them in just a moment. But in terms of the interior defensive line, we've got to stop the run.
Got to.
We've got to stop the run.
You've got to, because if you can't stop the run, then they start hitting them play-action passes.
Yes.
And then you're really cooked.
Yes, and that, again, it's a complimentary football was Mike Vrabel's favorite thing to say, but it's the reality of football where you've got to have that balance. And Sebastian Joseph Day, I think is a very fine player to be that rotational guy. He did his job for the most part. There wasn't many times where I'm like, oh, goodness, Sebastian Joseph Day, this is your fault. He's a rotational guy.
Yeah, better version of T.R. Tart.
Yeah. Legit. And, he was a better version of T.R. Tart, but wasn't exactly Danico Autry. You know what I mean? Somewhere in between there.
Yeah. We really felt the loss of Danico Autry this year, man. The year before, he had like 10-plus sacks. Yeah, we really missed him.
And now he got to play with some of the best D-line players.
He does.
Goodness gracious. But, I think that this piece is really kind of the center of a lot of things because we'll dive into it here in a moment. Our linebacking core is not strong. And when you don't have a strong linebacking core, I feel like the interior defensive line is what affects them the most. If you've got a strong interior defensive line, they have to double team multiple people or, one of those people all the time, which they do. They have to choose who they double team. But if they can get to the second level with ease because you're not putting any sort of pressure on them, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. So I do want to talk about a few of the things, edge rushing, the edge rusher, pass rush versus the run defense. We've got to get more pass rush. And I want to stick on Jeffrey Simmons for a moment. I feel like as a pass rusher, we're probably at that point where it's like, okay, we've talked about potential, what you should be doing or could be doing, but his reality is I don't think he's ever going to be that 15 to 20 sacks a year guy. I think he just is what he is right now.
Yeah, we there was a while like after his rookie season, probably his first couple of years, that we thought he could be on that trajectory of being the Aaron Donald of the defense, but he's just really just not that guy. But I mean, he's by far the best player on the defense, which could be a reason why the defense is the way it is now. I just know, dude, whenever Jeffrey Simmons, dude, is just locked in, and God, he's just such a beast, man. I just feel like if a team is losing, man, it's just the leadership stuff, man. He kind of just wavers or whatever. But yeah, man. I mean, I love Jeffrey Simmons so much. Pause. But we just need more, and we were hoping that T'Vondre Sweat could come in and like open up, maybe even open up Jeffrey Simmons, and didn't really pan out that way.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, Jeff Simmons got more single coverage last year than he ever got with T'Vondre Sweat there, and it still wasn't like he was just dominant. And he had that ankle injury or foot, that he was dealing with basically for the whole season. he said in an interview about 2 weeks ago that this is the healthiest he feel like he's been in the last couple of years. But we need it, man. We're saying all of this as if, he's average. He's still a well above average interior defensive lineman. Let us not, let us not act like we're acting like he's a bum. He's a really good football player. But for what he's being paid to do and what his expectations are, he hasn't met them. Randy, what do you kind of think about the interior defensive line, specifically Big Jeff?
Man, it has to improve. I think like we were saying, Big Jeff, man, he was dealing with a couple of injuries. The team morale was down. Momentum was gone, bro. Like, guys were just out there just doing whatever. I think, like you said, man, Jeff's upside, like when he's locked in, he's one of the best. We have to get back to that. Right now, it's not good enough. Hopefully these edge picks that we have right now can assist with that. To help seal those edges, and Jeff and Sweat can do their thing. You know what I mean? So I'm taking a step back this year. I'm lowering expectations, and I want to see. And Jeff has to show it this year, or it's not going to be good. You know what I mean? I think he wants to retire here in Nashville, and we would love him to, but the play has to step up. You know what I mean? So hopefully with these cultural changing pieces, we can see Jeff back to his peak. You know what I mean? So
a couple years ago, man, I mean, he would wreck games.
Yeah.
He would wreck people's game plans. He would be like a F the play up guy. He would just F up the opponent's play constantly. I would love for him to get back to that. Like, I remember, 4th and 1 on the goal line, and Josh Allen's trying to get that 1 yard stuff on Monday Night Football.
Man.
God, that was so fun. Imagine winning football. That was good times.
Gosh, man.
How far we have fallen. Anyways, man. I mean, the combination of Jeffrey Simmons and Javonte Sweat, in theory, should be one of the best duos in the National Football League.
Yes.
And last year it was subpar.
Yeah, it was a shell of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let's just move on to the next topic, man. There's so much heartbreak, bro. Because these guys are talented.
I do want to jump into something though. My question is, what is your expectation for T'Vondre Sweat? How many sacks should he be getting a year?
Well, the dude from the Rams, Fisk, I mean, he had over 10.
He did.
I mean, he's got to be getting 5 to 7. Like, he's got to. I need him to be another F the play up guy. And it just, I remember I can't remember who he chased down the sidelines. It may have been Trevor Lawrence or something like that. I remember him chasing him down. I was like, okay, like this is what I wanted. And then it didn't happen enough.
Yeah. So what if he's just a run stopping nose tackle? Is he, or a defensive tackle, is he a failure as a second round pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when we were terrible at stopping the run.
Yeah.
So, I can concur with that. If that's all he can amount to, it's not good enough. He has to get back there and disrupt plays. We need that.
I agree.
Period.
I agree. I personally think y'all are probably going too hard on him rookie year, and how he did last year. I don't think he was terrible last year. He's a rookie second round pick. I don't think that.
Well, in my point and how I'm judging this, it's the tandem of him and Jeff.
That's very fair.
So I'm not. Sweat did his thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as rookie play, like, he played very, very well. But when we were speaking in tandem of him and Jeff, the whole reason of us taking him in the second round is to open up Jeff.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he could take on 2 defenders himself.
Yeah.
That should be one-on-one for Jeff. There's no reason that we should be getting Paul split open like that, bro.
No, you're exactly right. And, I think that it's going to be interesting because people didn't agree with this, but people were talking about before the draft, would you take a second and third for Jeff Simmons? I was in the boat where I personally would have. I know that, a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with that, but
I don't.
I would have taken the second and third for Jeff, because and maybe I'm just, being too hard on him personally, but I love Jeff. I think he was a good part of the team. I think he can still be a dominant player, but I'm just expecting more. And you're not going to get a first-round pick out of Jeff because of what he's done thus far. He hasn't warranted that. I'm like, man, get some value out of him because after next year we may be talking about trying to ship him off anyway for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I just wish that we could get more rotational pieces. The thought of Jeffrey Simmons, Trevondre Sweat, and if we would have brought back to Nico Autry, that just sounds a lot more. That just,
man, yeah.
Like, they probably just got flat out worn out towards the end, and, they're just having the rotation pieces, Joseph Daly, and that's just not the Nico Autry.
Yeah.
That's essentially what I have come to. I looked at it as Jeff was playing way too many snaps. I think he hurt as well, and I think he just was gassed. So it took a lot of his upside out. You know what I'm saying? And I think with some proper depth pieces and him coming out for a few reps to come back in fresh, maybe we can get back to that prime Jeff Simmons. So, I love to turn them together. We just have to figure out how to get these guys back to their fullest potential.
All right. And you know what, man? I don't think last year he ever – on the field, I never really saw him give up. Like, I thought that Jeff continued to compete and play hard. Mentally, I'm sure there's a certain point where you're like, dog, come on.
We 3-13.
Like, come on now. But I saw him even in the last game of the season. Like, I just remember, it wasn't the last game of the season. It was, I think, against the Texans. He's still trying to chase people down. You know what I mean? Like, he's playing with the extra effort. And I do appreciate that about him. But even saying that, he's supposed to be the leader of the team. And I just don't feel that from him. I don't feel that level of leadership that I would like to see out of him. I don't know he's our defensive team captain, but I don't know if he's our true leader of the defense.
Yeah, it may just not be his personality trait, man. I mean, we had Kevin Byard way back when. He was
now he rallied them.
Yeah, he was the leader of the team. He may just want to be the dude that just goes out and balls.
And Kevin Durant style.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He just wants to go out there and do his thing, and he doesn't want to, take the responsibility of having to, gather the troops or whatever. Yeah.
So with that being said, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Cody, but I just was curious, like, do we have a piece like that you could see develop into that leader on that defense now? Like, is there a player on there? Now, I know we have a lot of new faces, but just off of traits and how this team has drafted this year, we have a couple additions that is on the defense now. Can you see any of those guys stepping up as that leader? Like, is it why is his name? His name is really whooping me. The edge that we just drafted. Do you think he could step up, even though he's a rook? It's just his personality. You know what I'm saying? Like, can he rally the team? Can he bring that energy to the defense that we've been yearning for to get Jeff back to his full potential?
Yeah, for whatever reason, the name that comes to mind for me, and I just think he's just a dog, is Jarvis Brownlee. Yeah, I could kind of see him. Like last year, like maybe he want to take the role because he was a rookie, but as he kind of gets, some more years under his belt or whatever, that he'd be willing to kind of step in and, hold people accountable, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's a good option. I like Femi Oladejo. He's a team captain. He was a guy who, obviously a rookie, but I think he maybe could develop into that person. I don't think Sweat's going to be that guy. I don't think anybody in our safety room. Kevin Winston, is a captain as well. Winston Jr. that we drafted at safety. So maybe he's an option there. And I have to learn more about Cody Barton to really know his personality. He was a captain with the Broncos, but I don't know a lot about how he operates. So it'll be interesting. I think they're bringing in guys who are high character guys, but I think there's a difference between being high character and being a captain.
Yeah. Like I mean,
sometimes you
Jeffrey
want the captain
Simmons
to cut somebody out.
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons ain't about to listen to Oladejo.
And if he gets to the point where he earns that from Big Jeff, it'll say a lot. But I don't think that's happening. And Arden Key, I feel like Arden Key's just like the big, childish big brother. You know what I mean? Like he's always doing something, smiling and laughing and, whatever. But, that leads us to the edge rusher conversation. So right now we've got Arden Key, Draymond Jones, who came over from Seattle. the 7th-round rookie, Jalen Harrell, last year out of Michigan, Femi Oladejo, this year's rookie out of UCLA, and Lorenzo Carter, the veteran that came from the Falcons. It's a room full of
mid.
Thank goodness.
Mine is Draymond. Draymond's a stud.
Draymond can play,
Yeah.
and he's not an edge rusher. I mean, he plays the edge, but he's not going to be the big pass rusher. But he stops the run, and he can be disruptive. And Arden Key's just Arden Key at this point. He's your rotational, edge rusher number 3.
Yeah, if we could just get Arden Key to play against Andre Dillard every week. Hey, we thought we had somebody. We truly did.
We don't have a dog on the field.
He was getting 10 sacks of practice.
Yeah, we
with
truly
Andre
thought we
Dillard,
was like,
man.
oh snap! Like we actually got somebody off the Jaguars. Man, hell no,
Not even close,
dude.
And I like Arden Key, but he just is who he is, and right now he's miscast into a role that he shouldn't be in.
That's the thing. It's like we talked about this on the last pod with the receivers. We need to get people more properly slotted onto the team, and right now we really don't have that because I don't see Femi being ahead of Arden Key. Dude, Arden Key is our best edge rusher.
Yeah, man.
That's a problem.
And him having 10 sacks would be considered a good year for him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not it. And maybe, again, we knew coming into the season, we talked about this the last few episodes, tempering expectations. Mm-hmm. This is not a 2025 thing. I could very well see us going edge rusher first round next year in the draft.
Yeah.
And if we are, what we expect, maybe 6-7 wins at the absolute most, probably looking in the round 10 or 11, you're going to get a pretty good edge rusher at that pick. So maybe that's the vision long term, but right now we need some guys. And the thing is, a star edge rusher, let's say we just randomly, man. I'm just throwing out a name. Trey Hendrickson. Let's say we had Trey Hendrickson, we traded for him. This room looks really solid because you've got a lot of guys who are edge rusher 3s. We've got 3 edge rusher 3s. You know what I mean? We've got Draymond Jones is probably a 2, realistically. He can be a 2. Upside of 2, probably a 3. Arden Key's a 3. Femi Oladejo, to be determined, but most likely a 3, maybe a 2. Lorenzo Carter's a veteran, 4.5 sacks last year. He's just that rotational guy to come in. Y'all tired? I'm old too. I'm tired with y'all. Like that's who he is. But, most of the Arden Key, probably 8 or 9 sacks is his max. Draymond Jones, probably he can probably squeak to 8, but probably 6 or 7's where he's at. Femio, we looked at it during the draft episode, second round edge rushers, only 2 of them within the last, I think, about 8 or 9 guys had 5 sacks. So if we get him at his max, 5 sacks, Lorenzo Carter, maybe he squeaks out 2, Jalen Harrell 2. We're talking about a room of edge rushers with 13 sacks total. We're not talking about a lot.
All these numbers you're saying, that's their max.
Yes.
That's not the floor.
That's
the ceiling.
Their max is a Max Crosby year itself. Golly, man. If you add all those guys up, all those guys equal Trey Hendrickson last year. What? It sucks, but it's one of those things where I look at who was available in free agency. I look at some of the players we drafted, and we could have drafted some guys who had more upside from a pass rush standpoint. I do think this room stops the run and sets the edge better. Draymond Jones is a guy who sets the freaking edge.
Yeah.
Femi Oladejo in college, at least, set the freaking edge. And also Lorenzo Carter's a guy. He's a veteran, but he's setting the edge. Yeah. So I think that was a big thing too. Is we got beat off tackle a lot. They would double down on the defensive tackle, run away from the other side, go off tackle. Our linebackers don't, Kenneth Murray's looking around, drool on his face, doesn't know what's happening. Not as a touchdown. I like Kenneth Murray athleticism, but he definitely had a bust that wasn't as long as yours.
He's a cowboy now.
It's just one of those things where I feel like they at least did something, made something happen that was different. Just wasn't the pass rushing changes that we hoped.
Yeah, just set the edge and feed them into those 2 big boys in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And now that goes back to my question. So now that we've kind of broke this down and got to this place, does the run stopping improve now? You know what I mean? Does that essentially fix the problem to where we can get back to that old Titans, you can't run on us defense. It helps out Jeff. It helps out Sweat. Like you said, feeding them back in, the guys that can really set the edge. They may not be able to tee off on the quarterback, but you're not going to be able to run the ball on us.
Right.
Period. Olu, I like his patience. Like I said, like with the draft breakdown, I love his patience and being able to pick his spot and able to set the edge and his discipline when the ball is snapped. So it's just like you have that, and then you have over there, we're looking at 3rd and 10. You able to peel your ears back and get to the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So,
and it's one thing that I think we haven't mentioned much in this, especially in the edge rusher conversation, is I feel like Denard Wilson will have the opportunity to get into his bag a little bit more in terms of blitz packaging.
Yeah.
And because he knows the edge can be set, you know what I mean? And maybe get a little bit more creative on how we rush the passer. You know, maybe it's more of Jarvis Brownlee coming after the quarterbacks and so forth. Like, I think that's going to be how we supplement it until we get an edge rusher and come into it. But, you know, I do think the run stopping is going to be better, to answer your question directly, Randall. Setting the edge is something that we just haven't done well. You know, Harold Landry's not the biggest guy. You know, he fought to set the edge, but you're not moving nobody, big dog. You know, as much as I like you, Harold Landry, you're not moving nobody. You know, you 6 foot 145. Like, come on, Tez Johnson, the edge rusher. We
Straight
could.
shade
No,
on
that
old Honor Landry.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. Harold, you didn't deserve that. You know, and then Arden Key was just so hell-bent on passion in rushing the passer that he
would just run right by him.
Like, he just didn't do that well. So I think they did bring in some guys who gives us versatility, and I think I do like that part about who we brought in. Versatile guys. Versatile guys. What do you think about our edge rusher room, Cody? What would you grade our edge rusher room?
Arden Key, Draymond Jones, Femi, Carter, F. F. Hello.
I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. You know, let me jump back. What would you grade our interior linemen to?
Simmons and Sweat. I probably B-.
That's fair.
plus.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Randall, what are your 2 grades of those 2 groups?
Yeah, I'm with Cody, bro. That's we're shrimp fried rice, buddy. It's over.
Man. Yeah, that's.
But I do think we'll be better with the run stops.
Yeah.
I think we'll be in a more favorable position where, like you said, Denard to be able to tee off. And then also, to grade the interior, I'm also concur with Cody. That's a B minus. You know what I'm saying? With some depth pieces, you can upgrade to a B plus.
Yeah, maybe the guy, you know, the undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
Out of Northern Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. O'Malley, who's, you know, 20-plus sacks as an interior defensive lineman.
O'Malley.
Make the team. Because we don't know. You know, but, you know, I think that'll be interesting, man. And hopefully we can, you know, dig into it. But we've got to be – I want to have an edge rusher group that opposes a threat to the opposite quarterback. I want the other quarterback to know, if I'm coming to this game, I got to get the ball out quick. Right now, you're not too much worried about that. And again, maybe we'll be able to scheme it up defensively, but as of right now, you know, I don't think that is where we're at.
So just quick question, because I do know that Trey Hendrickson has been talked about as being a tradable player. What would you give up for him?
Oh, that's a great question, man.
Put that pressure on him, Coach.
I would give up a second-round pick for Trey Hendrickson.
Would you?
I would give up a second-round pick. Would you be willing to?
No, I'd probably go about third.
Okay.
I'd probably go 3, yeah.
Because we got to pay him too.
Yeah.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. So I'd probably go 3rd-round pick. What did he get? He got like 14 sacks last year.
He had a lot.
I mean, he's a stud.
Might have had more than that.
He may have. Honestly, I don't remember. But I do know that he'd be damn sure better than anybody that we got.
Do you think would you put a pair of draft picks together to go and get them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could probably do like a 3rd and a 6th, maybe.
17 and a half sacks last year.
17, 3rd and a 4th.
Give them what they want. Fleece us.
Matter of fact, let's go back to that second. Right?
2 seconds.
Yeah, we'll go. We'll give up a 2nd-round pick.
Oh man.
I mean, and you know, it's a thing where that's also where I have to balance. And I know we're just kind of talking in jest a little bit, but I may be on the boat where I maybe wouldn't do it purely because, again, and I know he's younger. He's not old. We're 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah.
In 2 or 3
match
years,
the timeline.
Is he going to be worth that? You know what I mean? He's worth that for the next 2 years.
I'm telling you, man, sometimes as a fan, I just get lost.
I do too, man.
I just start
I
thinking.
do too. I see a name out there who's productive. I'm like, we need him. Spend what you want.
We need it.
And then 2 years later, like, okay, we can't pay, Chimere DK, who's worth $100 million because we paid Trey Henderson 2 years ago.
We don't want that.
Yeah,
we need our number one receiver.
Anyways, okay. So to round out the front seven, we've got the linebacker core. Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, Otis Reese, James Williams, and undrafted free agent David, and I'm going to say Benda. Benda, I'm not sure. But we've got him rounding out that group. Cody Barton, he's a solid, smart, he's not necessarily the best athlete. He tackles. He doesn't miss tackles at all. He's very solid across the board, 100-plus tackles multiple years in a row. He's a guy who's going to be very solid. And in pass coverage, he's not an elite pass coverage guy at all, but he kind of grazes the average realm of that. Then you've got Otis Reese. Is he going to be able to earn a starting position? This upcoming year, I think this is his third year in the league, I believe. So I think he's somebody who maybe has that opportunity. He's somebody who's shown some promise. He's the guy last year who every time a linebacker went out, he was the guy going in. There was a couple games when Luke Gifford went in. I don't know why on earth they would do that. But, he shows the most promise. Cedric Gray had a nerve injury, and he was out majority of last year. So we don't know what he's going to bring. But he was the pick I was most excited about going into next year prior to the injury. So we'll see. And James Williams, the safety converted linebacker, very athletic, can fly around the field. He's a thumper. But is he ever going to be able to learn the position well enough to expand his role other than being a primary special teams guy? So looking at that linebacker core, it's basically Cody Barton and a bunch of guys who are, in year 2 or less. What do we think about this room? This room probably is right around there, D minus F. This is just not a great room. The linebacker position in the NFL is one where I feel like it's probably the lowest position, the position where I think you can have the least amount of talent and still be successful.
Yeah.
I know running back gets lumped into there, but I think that's changed over the last couple of years, and that was just a poor narrative, if you ask me.
Shout out Saquon.
But
and Big Henry.
Right. Multiple people. Josh Jacobs still doing it. Even Tony Pollard. You got a lot of guys. So,
TP, top 4.
According to Cam Ward.
Yeah. Shout out to
Cam. I believe Cam. I believe everything Cam says right now. That's QB1. He ain't lying. He ain't never lying. But looking at it, this is not a strong linebacker room. Potential is maybe the word you can lean on. I don't know. But it's also a room where it's like, do I want to go get another veteran? Do I just want to keep riding on these guys and see if one of these guys work out? What do you think from a linebacker perspective we need in this room, Cody?
More. Randall. What do you think my grade is for this room?
Knowing you, man, it's probably a good F.
It's an F.
Yep.
We need it, man.
I don't know anything really about Cody Barton. I know you said that he was a captain at Cleveland.
Yep.
Cleveland?
No. Denver.
Otis Reese, I feel like he's made a few plays before. Cedric Gray,
yet to be determined.
I was gonna say we don't know anything about him, so it's just a bunch of TBD.
It's a lot of TBD.
And as of right now, I'm just uninspiring. I would say that this linebacker group is, and I think you kind of said that it's not that important a position. I don't know about all that because they're the ones that have to make the tackle in the hole that gets filled, that Travondre Sweat and Simmons take up or whatever.
Would you say it's the least most valuable team position group on the NFL roster, or which one would you say?
Oh man,
is least most valuable? No, I'm not saying like them. I'm just saying in general, linebackers in general.
Oh, gotcha.
I feel like it's the least most valued position on the NFL roster. That's what I meant by that. Would you say there's another one that's lower?
I mean, probably. I don't know, man. Yeah, probably. You're probably right.
In my opinion, I think it is. I think that's the.
But
if you're schemed up correctly and your front line is elite, you can get away with a little less talent at the linebacker position. You can't slack off on safety. You can't slack off on corners. You can't slack off on D-line and edges, period. Edges are your bread and butter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
them in corners.
Yeah. So
I mean, but you got like people like Fred Warner running across the field and side to side. I mean, I think if you got a special one, you know it. But I do kind of agree that it's like you can kind of maybe get away with like a really good athlete, which I'm not 100% sure that these guys are.
No, I agree. And the thing is I think Cody Barton is NFL average. Mm-hmm. And we're just begging at one of the other guys are average. You know what I mean? Like that's the ceiling for one of those guys, at least for right now, is average. And we pray that you come in and you can just give us average. Please give us average play. Mm-hmm. But the odds are, how young they are. These guys are year 2, Otis Reese year 3. Like,
is Barton the green dot?
Most likely.
Will he be a green dot guy?
I don't know if he had it at Denver, to be honest with you. He probably did. But I would assume he's got to be the green dot guy unless it goes to hooker.
Or the hooker, okay. I was going to say maybe Cedric Gray, because I think coming out, Cedric Gray had a pretty good whatever. He was like a green dot guy in college.
Correct.
And so he kind of has that history.
Yeah, they were expecting him to fill that role. And then, again, just a weird injury, man, shoulder-wise and everything. Well, we'll continue to take a look and monitor this group. This is probably something, we only picked up one undrafted free agent in this position group. There's still time to do more. I don't know what free agents are out there right at this moment, but maybe we go in late, get a couple camp bodies for veteran linebackers who could maybe present us some average play. But
yeah, I hate talking like this. Like I don't want to give like Fs. I don't want to, but by NFL standards, it's just
poor, man.
It's just not good enough.
We're not challenging anybody. The linebacker room is just a poor room. Yeah. Edge rusher's a poor room. One room that I do think shows some promise though is our secondary overall. Mm-hmm. And our cornerback room. I think our cornerback room, I'm not going to say it's tops in the league or anything like that, but I think our cornerback room is actually a room that can really show some things. You look at L'Jarius Sneed, Roger McQuarrie, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Darrell Baker, who had a surprising year last year. And we also picked up Marcus Harris, cornerback, in the draft out of Cal. So, I think that L'Jarius Sneed is supposed to be our CB1, but couldn't get on the field. And was part of that, I maybe can play, but our team has no chance of making the playoffs. I'm going to sit the rest of the season. Yeah. Maybe. But at the end of the day, he wasn't on the field. He's getting paid as a CB1. He's getting paid as one of the top, 5 to 10 corners in the league. If he's not a true lockdown corner, we may be in trouble. Now, again, last year he wasn't here, and Cheeto wasn't here. He's not here on the team anymore. And we still had a solid secondary in terms of by the numbers. But if he comes in and he's back to L'Jarius Sneed, we're talking about a top 10 secondary, in my opinion, because of Jarvis Brownlee Jr. If he takes the second step that we hope he can do and Roger continues to stay solid in the slot, which I think he's very underrated by, based on the NFL as a whole, how they look at him. But Roger's very solid in the slot. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is continuing to fight on the outside. Darrell Baker had I'm going to say exceptional by his standards. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be a rotational special teams guy. He started a lot of games, and he didn't give up a lot. So I was very, very pleased with his play. But first of all, let's talk about L'Jarius Sneed. He's got some off-the-field issues. I'm not going to get into the speculation side of things. I'm not a lawyer. I do know that it's not criminal. It's a civil suit. But at the same time, you miss a full season, and then you have this – people start looking at you real weird at that point. Yeah, if you played all season, even if you played all season and you were just all right and you had this, it wouldn't be as bad. But you missed the whole season, essentially, and then had this. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's not a good look. This is by far the best group on the defense. Mm-hmm. And that may be even without if L'Jarius Sneed wasn't even on the team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, for real.
But, I mean, as good as they are and, like, the potential that they could be, they're not going to have a chance if we can't, get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because eventually somebody's going to pop open because you just can't hold up in coverage for that long. So that's why I wish that we could get a great edge rusher or something like that, or Oladejo could do something to help out with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just we got to have Snead. Like we
have to.
We got to have him this year. Playing well, because it felt like even when he played last year, he just wasn't what he was with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of almost came off to me like, obviously, I mean, it is what it is. He didn't want to be here. You know what I'm saying? He got acquired in a trade. I think he wanted to stay with the Chiefs. And so you could kind of see that, he did his best to like embrace here, but ultimately in his heart, he wasn't in it. And so with the year being here and the improvement, do y'all think he can turn it around and maybe embrace now? Because I'm not going to lie, I can't wait to see Cam. Cam is going to be on his –
Yeah.
He's going to talk that trash to him. And so it's like, if that's the fire he needs, he's going to get it.
Yeah.
And especially with G. Murray DK.
No!
The buy-in.
I'm on a trade now, baby.
No way. You've infected him?
Can you imagine him running?
Buy-in is real.
Can you imagine him burning him?
He did.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm here, man. I'm here now.
And
I can't wait to see Cam footage.
Camp is going to be nice. And it's going to be really good for the rookies because we've got some aggressive style corners too, where if you didn't deal with a lot of press coverage in college,
You're going to get it.
you're going to get it. And I think it's going to be really good for them to go up against that. But, to stay on Snead, I think he can turn it around. I do. And it's got to be tough mentally to go from I won a Super Bowl next year. The team had the number 1 overall draft.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the widest margin you could get.
Yeah,
is that right there?
And I'm gonna give him grace on that. But you're here now, and you had a year here, and it's not gonna change.
Yeah.
So unless you want to tarnish your legacy, bro, we're trying to build a winning culture, and we have a quarterback now that is demanding a winning culture. He's gonna come in prepared, charged up, ready. And so it's like, will that fuel that's on the offensive side, will that inspire Snead to get back to that top level play? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want to see.
Yeah, the thing is that you could tell the buy-in wasn't there because when what happened allegedly happened, it was like a couple days before a football game.
Yeah.
And you would think that he would be with the team.
Yeah.
Well, he was just going to buy a car. Ain't nothing wrong going to buy a car.
But he was like out of the state, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was in Texas, bro. There's no way he should have been. He should have been here in the hotel room.
I don't know what they're allowed to do on the off days. I don't know if they can go home.
That's just my
people.
Yeah. I mean, just from 3,000 view, it just looks like you're just not bought in. I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you listen to his interviews, he sounds like a complete dog, and you would think that a complete dog, like, wants to do things against all odds. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to be involved in everything, and that nothing's going to put him down because he's just worried about, I'm going to like up the man in front of me. That's what I thought I was getting in L'Jarius Snead.
Well, I would say D-Hop is a dog, but Ridley is a dog. Jeff is a dog. But when the morality of the team is that low, what do you want to play for?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we were bad, dude. And a lot of these guys that we're drafting now is to help revamp that energy in the locker room. That was, it was venom going through there, bro.
Yep.
Nobody cared. That's essentially, I think we were in a decline. I mean, Henry, I think he could even see that. It's like, I don't feel the same.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm out. And so when you got guys like that, you have to be competitive in practice, preparation, all the things to then get the best out of your players. That's why Snead developed into what he was, because he had a winning culture around, and Patrick Mahomes ain't tolerating that. Like, we're here to win. And so Cam has that same type of traits. And so if this situation can pan out, I think we can get back to seeing Snead at his true self, essentially. I think everybody will be uplifted because now we have a true leader.
Yeah.
Now.
And you bring up an interesting point because early in day 3 of the draft, 2 of our lead scouts were talking in the press conference, and some of the questions were all centered around, you guys have talked about finding guys who love football. How do you delineate that from guys who are just passionate about the game and what the game can bring to them, whether it's money, fame, whatever it is, or even just the excitement of playing a game? And what you just described is that core difference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Snead and Simmons and them don't love football. They probably love the game, or love playing football, but maybe they don't love the game to where every snap means the world to them. You know what
Winning
I mean? I think
cures
there is
all.
a difference. Yeah.
Yes.
And that is, I get it. As a human, it's tough to deal with loss over and over, especially when I think that people saw, especially on the defensive side, so much promise in what they could be as a unit.
Well, thing is, too, is that, predominantly, even with Jeffrey Simmons even being here, he's mostly won.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of winning. Jerry Snead's done a lot of winning.
Heck of a lot of winning.
But you also see how that has affected Jeff when we're now in a rebuild mode and the vibe of the team ain't there.
Yeah, that's the point.
I mean, that's the same thing essentially of what we're talking about with what's going on with Jeff play. Why is he? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's just getting out there, just causing penalties for no reason. It's just you gotta know that the guy next to you wants to win just as bad. And when you do that, everybody is lifted up. So yeah man.
We can talk more about it, but I do think this room overall, should be led by Snead. Roger and Jarvis, I think are going to come in and just do their job.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I love those two players. I think Roger McQuarrie and Jarvis Brownlee Jr. are the epitome of the type of corners that I want. They're not perfect. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. was too handsy at times, got a lot of penalties in a few core moments, and some of them agreed, some of them I don't agree with, whatever. But I love having dogs at corners. I'm tired of, we went through years of 10 yards off, give them what they want. No, let's make them challenge us. I'm glad we've got some guys who want that and have that mentality. But I think
they can't call it all game.
Yeah,
they can't call it all game.
Yeah. And, so my question for you guys, to round out the cornerback conversation, what would you grade this room? I'll start with mine. I think I'll give this room, and I may be reaching here and maybe, two-tone colored glasses. I'm going B+. I think this is a B+ group. I'm assuming everybody's healthy. If everybody's healthy, I think this is a B+ cornerback room. What would you think, Cody?
I'd probably just go – I go B. I would go with B just because Snead just last year, he just wasn't the Snead for the Chiefs that we thought we were going to get. So if he can get back to that, I think I could go B+. Just the main three right now, I'll probably go B.
Okay.
Me, I'm going to give him a B+, but with Snead top play and these things that I'm talking about with the defense, I think they have the potential to be an A- room.
Yeah. Snead at his peak with Brownlee and McQuarrie on the other side. Like if peak Snead comes out to play, peak dog Snead.
Chopping one field off.
It could be an A if you ask me. Like peak dog Snead taking away the number one and Brownlee punching the number two in the mouth every play. Like I'm good with it. And
the physicality of that room will be one of the league's top DB classes. Like if at full potential, that's the potential that they truly have.
And that's what excites me about the defense is really the secondary. It's like, can y'all at least just stop the run? If we can't get to the passer in normal ways, we'll figure out a way to try to blitz a little bit more. But stop the run, let these guys, get a chance. But please don't have people chasing around. Drake may look like Mike Vick last year. So getting to our last position group, and we'll dibble and dabble on special teams a little bit. But the safety group, which I actually think is a pretty solid group. Monty Hooker. Xavier Woods, the veteran that came over from the Panthers, I believe.
Panthers and Cowboys.
That's right. Kevin Winston Jr., the rookie out of Penn State. Mike Brown and Julius Wood. Mike Brown actually I think is one of the more underrated backup safeties in the league, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I actually, and I'm going to start with a grade on this group and then dive into it. I actually think that this is a B- group. Amani Hooker, I've probably said this too many times. Everybody's underrated on the Titans, blah, blah, whatever. I think Amani Hooker's truly the most underrated player on our team.
Yeah, I think Amani Hooker's a good player.
He is, man. He has ball production. He's healthy most of the time. He tackles the football. He gets people in the right place. He's in the right place most of the time. He's not the best athlete, but he gets it done, man. I really, really like Hooker. Xavier Woods is a strong veteran, but again, I'll shut up. A B- is what I give this group. Randy, let me hear yours, and Cody, wrap us up in terms of your grades, and we'll talk about the players.
I'll give that room a B minus. I'll concur with you. Once again, this room has all the ability in the world. Like if the D line can set the edge, Snead comes back with comparable play, it's just gonna let these guys tee off and do what they do. I like the draft picks that complement that is gonna be developing. And I think the upside of this room is tremendous, man. So I might, matter of fact, I call me what you want, bro. I might say that B plus A minus again. I think this entire secondary can be elite if the team can rally around and get the morale right.
Yeah, I think we got some good pros with Hooker and Woods. I think they're not elite, so to speak, but they're really, really good. So I'm right there with you. I think I would probably go B minus B just for the secondary or for the safeties. And then I'm really excited how Winston could look in a couple years.
Yeah, and, having defenses that can have that third safety on the field, who can be that guy who kind of serves as your quasi-nickel, that hybrid defensive back role. He could really help with that. Xavier Woods played the most snaps in the league last year, out of all positions, not just corners or secondaries, whatever, secondary players. So having him being a reliable option, I love. And again, Mike Brown's just a good rotational guy. He's a guy who comes in. You never really hear about him getting beat. He's just solid. And Julius Wood is a little bit more of a special teams guy. But the biggest piece for me, I think, that can take this group to the next level is Kevin Winston Jr. Being a guy who's projected as, a top 2 or 3 safety prior to him getting hurt, and even with safety 4 with the injuries, got picked before Xavier Watts. I mean, some guys that we thought were just real knockout of the park guys. With his size, he's a thumper, but has, really solid speed. I think he can be solid. I think he's a guy who actually, because of maybe the injury history and how he's built, maybe doesn't even play special teams and is just that third safety. I hate bringing up this name, but I'm going to do it. He can become our version of Kyle Hamilton. If it works out the way we would like, and obviously, he'll slide into a starting role, when Woods or Hooker leaves. But I would love for him to be that guy who can come in and be our third safety, kind of serve as a little bit of a linebacker at times, roam in the middle of the field, taking away the tight end, taking away slot receivers that maybe have a more physical style of play. I think he can elevate our room. If he comes in and he is what he was in 2023 in college for us, that could make this room the A-minus group.
Yeah, that's a really good trio for sure.
Very solid. Yeah. So I think that we've got a reliable group. I think this group fits with Denard Wilson's coverage philosophy just because, he loves to press on the outside, and it puts a little bit more strain on your safeties. But when you've got 2 veteran safeties who've seen it all and both are solid tacklers and versatile enough to cover, you give yourself a pretty good chance. And looking at our secondary overall, it's a solid group. It's a solid group, man. It's like we're Trey Hendrickson away from me yelling, our defense is back, baby. You know what I mean? Like, really, even with the linebackers being weak, if we didn't do anything with linebackers, we get a Trey Hendrickson-style player, a Hassan Reddick, whatever. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
Yeah. It's really weird. Our defense is really built outside in. We got the best players are really on the outside, minus Jeff. But the potential of if we could just get to the quarterback, just have just one guy that could just get there consistently and just have the quarterback move off his spot, and having these DBs and safeties, man, I think just one guy could potentially take this defense to another level.
Yes, man.
And again, this is we're looking into the future. Looking to the future, so I can't keep thinking about just next year.
And that's why I like the Kevin Winston pick too. For future
yeah, for sure. I think got a lot of potential here for sure.
And bringing in the edge rusher conversation, and we'll jump to special teams to close it out. But having that, with us having an aggressive style defense on the outside, having somebody who can get to the passer makes things so much easier because you're not going to press forever. Like literally press coverage is getting your hands on somebody, then getting into the route. You know what I mean? It's not like you hold them there and it's like you're blocking them.
Yeah.
So having some sort of presence is going to help the secondary, and it just helps everything, man. So hopefully we get that. We'll look at free agency here soon and kind of talk about who's available and who can help based on where we are post-draft. But we'll dive into that. And so to close it out, let's talk about a controversial move that happened with our guy, Mr. Ryan Stonehouse, being sent away, released, cut, however you want to look at it. And we bring
Nick
in
Folk.
John and Nick Folk, Mr. Accuracy himself, the most accurate season of all time. And we bring in Joey Sly, who's got a big leg, but not known for accuracy. He's not, completely inaccurate, but he's definitely not Big Nick. And also, you look at Johnny Hecker, who is known more of an accuracy punter. They kind of flipped it, and we got rid of the big booming young leg. Morgan Cox will be here forever. He'll be etched in Titans history as the best long snapper of all time. But looking at the punter and the kicker, what were your thoughts when you saw the move in both directions?
I think the punter is an upgrade, actually, oddly enough, because I can't remember who was the punter before Stonehouse.
Kern.
Was it Brett Kern?
Kern, and he could always pin people deep.
Yep.
And that was kind of the issue with Stonehouse, is that yes, you would boom at 70 yards, but overall they still get the ball back on the 25-yard line.
Yep.
They still get pretty solid field position. I was pretty disappointed when we lost Nick Folk, and I was pretty pissed off when we got Nick Folk to begin with, because I thought he was going to be over the hill, but he never missed. Like he was automatic. He was
at the top of the hill.
He was like he was just like the one person. I was like, okay, like we get past the 40-yard line, we're going to get 3 points.
Yeah.
And so I think with Joey Sly, you're kind of losing that, and then Morgan Cox. I mean, he's a lifer for the Titans for sure.
Yeah, and I get it, getting a bigger leg and Joey Sly, but I did like the accuracy and knowing that it was basically dead set. You're good. So I think that it's one of those things where I really wish that we, kept that accuracy, but I would much rather have, I get the big leg. I get that, okay, we crossed the 50, we might be all right. You know what I mean? But, it can be frustrating. But Randy, kind of close this out. Talk about, what you think about the moves, then we'll wrap it up.
As far as on special teams, man, I agree with Cody on switching that punter up, man. I love Stonehouse, man, but a lot of times, man, he was out kicking the coverage, man. A lot of those times he'd put the boot on it, but like our guys are not there, so like you're already getting a 10 to 15 yard head start, gearing up, and he's outrunning the special teams. So with that becomes a different approach. I think I'm gonna trust Bones to know what he's looking for and to revamp this special teams, man. So I'll deal with the consequences of losing, Stone. But with Sly, like Cody said, it's going to become a little more shaky, but I'm going to trust the process. I think we just needed to get a little bit younger in that room. A little bit more. I know he has a little more leg. And so with that becomes, it becomes now a little more strategic where you want to take those kicks at.
Correct.
Certain size of the hash and all of those things becomes a factor now. Versus when you had Nick Folk, it's got to be inside the 40, guaranteed.
Because now it's like, you got a big foot, but that means we're kicking it from the 40. Do we want to give the ball up, back to the other team at the 40 if you miss it? You know what I mean? Like versus, I get it. There's pros and cons to it. I did like the accuracy,
it's like at that point now we have at our disposal, if we want to take that 50 or 55.
Correct.
We can take a shot
it's
at
an option.
It.
And he kicked a 64 last year too. So he's got a big boot.
Oh yeah.
But the percentage, I think, is 18 percentage points less in terms of accuracy than what we had with Nick Folk. So we'll see. It's definitely a drop off. But bringing in a special teams who's supposed to be the Bill Callahan of special teams, Mr. Bones. We'll see how that goes. But I think that overall our defense and special teams, we've got some improvements that need to take place. We did bring in some younger pieces, that I hope at early draft picks, so having an edge rusher who's younger, a safety who's younger, a corner we brought in who's hopefully going to develop into a rotational guy helps us. I think I could see our last draft next year flipping to where we've got, if we had 9 picks, 6 of them being defense next year, and that being a need. But overall, Cody, tell me your thoughts on the defense and special teams, and we'll close it out.
Yeah, the defense is it's not pretty, but in a lot of areas. But there's definitely some strengths that we got, and we with the way this offense could be set up this year, it could be. We may need a win with a 55-yard field goal, so at least we got somebody that can kick it.
That's true.
And play a smart game where you play field position and pin people back if you have to.
Yep.
So I think that chance is a lot higher with Johnny Hecker. So yeah, I think that we got a solid 5-win season coming in.
Somebody's got to do it. We a better draft pick next year for our edge rusher, I guess. But thank you guys so much for tuning in this episode. Really excited about what the defense can be. But we'll see if we can rush the passer. You are tuned in to Pressman coverage.
Pressman.
Thank you so much for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk soon.
Peace.
Oh, we got our podcast, thinking you should watch it. If you driving, man, it's good for you to listen. No, we keep it real. No, we spit it raw. Sports dialogue. No, it's good if I'm involved. No, we're not the news. We just cool dudes with nobody to impress. Just talking our shit. Call it Pressman coverage. 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 Good news, bad news, everything moves. Good moves, bad moves, everything moves. So we made a podcast called it Pressman coverage. Made a podcast called it Pressman coverage. Yo. Pressman coverage. Pressman coverage. Pressman coverage.